Hey there, this is Kat, and you are joining me in my live podcast. And today I am going to be speaking to Michael, a good friend of mine. I've had him on my podcast a couple times, and I'm excited to have him on again, especially now in January as we kick into the year. Michael is the CEO of Full Service Consulting Group. I'll bring him on. He'll have his labels, and then you are going to be able to connect to him. The thing I would love for anybody tuning in is if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments so that we can reply to them as we are live. This is all about engagement, right? Okay, let me bring out Michael. Hey, Michael, how's it going?
Good, Kat. How are you?
I'm
Happy
doing
New Year.
great. Thank you. You too. You too. And I apologize. I have a little bit of sun glare, which I am not apologizing about the sun because I'm happy to have the sun. Because we're both wintered up here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yes. Okay, Michael. Some people might not know who you are, and so can you give us a little background?
Yeah. Again, my name is Michael Maziarek, and I have a company called Full Circle Consulting Group.com, and a couple different divisions, one being Full Circle Coaching Services.com, which a lot of what we're going to talk about today concerns the coaching services that I provide. Um, I've been in business. I've had my consulting firm since October of 2011. And prior to that, I was a W 2 employee for a number of companies, franchise companies. And one of those franchise companies is one that I actually started. And back earlier in my career, it was a concept that ultimately became known as Deck the Walls, that dealt with picture frames, artwork, framing services that we did in major regional shopping centers. And basically, I took that franchise concept via the franchising model from startup to right around 250 stores in 6 years.
That's awesome.
And that kind of set the stage also in terms of that experience for working with the type of clients that are kind of in my wheelhouse now with my consulting firm. And that's small to mid-sized businesses as opposed to Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies. Okay. Way back when one of my consultants, friends of mine, who I actually hired when I had Deck the Walls, told me something that I share with all my clients, and that is, he said that you don't have to be sick to get better. Okay.
Yep.
So you don't just need a consultant or a coach in terms of when your business is in trouble, but you also need a coach to kind of build upon the successes that you've had in terms of trying to exponentially increase what your return on investment in your business is.
I couldn't agree more, Michael. I am a huge fan, and I repeatedly say this in probably all of my podcasts that, if your business is not successful, if your business is not going in the right direction, it's always worth every penny to hire a mentor or coach, somebody to come in and help you out to get you on the right track. Because at the end of the day, you know, the reality is your outcome is either success or failure, right? So
Right,
you want to have
right.
success. I mean, there's only, success or failure. I mean, it's black and white, unfortunately, when it comes to business.
Well, and one of the things also, Kat, that winds up happening is that, and I can speak to the clients that I have and have had, is that most of the clients in that small to mid-sized business category are very good at working in their business. I mean, if they're making pizzas, they're making the
Yeah.
best pizzas in town. If they're providing any other types of services to people, they are absolutely the best in terms of what the quality of the product and service that they provide. But one of the major things I think that I bring to companies, and you do in terms of what you do, and any other coach does, is it brings people an opportunity to work on their business as opposed to
Mm-hmm.
just in their business. And
Yep.
part of working on their business is having someone who can take a a um, a innovative look at that
Yep.
business in terms of seeing where there are opportunity areas that haven't been pursued so far and haven't been capitalized and cashed in on and
Yes.
monetized.
Absolutely. And I'll give you a great example. So, because we talked a little bit about this before coming on. And so I run into this in two different arenas. I have Advertise, which is my marketing company, and then I have the business broker. I'm going to talk to the Advertise situation in marketing. The thing that I saw a lot of in the end of fourth quarter was a lot of people pulling back saying, my numbers aren't there. I need to cut marketing and I need to reassess that as we go into 2024. So basically, they're working with their accountant, they're going through their numbers, they're reviewing, right? And it's
Hmm.
not looking as lovely as they thought it was going to be. And they're looking for immediate cuts. And seems to be always the go to. The go to is marketing. And my conversation with companies, and you can certainly add to this. My conversation always is, why cut the one thing that's bringing you revenue? Why would you do that? You're cutting yourself off at the
Right.
knee. You've got
Yeah.
to find other areas to cut, because why would you cut yourself off at the knees and then 3 months later I can predict what's going to happen? You're going to be behind because you cut your marketing. Whereas if
Hmm.
you were a little more strategic and cut other areas, and then you can add to this, then you would be ahead of the game because you're still reminding people to buy you, right? Reminding people to
Right.
buy you 3 months later, and you're creating some traction. Whereas before, cutting marketing, you're not. You're just not. I can predict what's going to happen, and you're going to be way more behind than what you anticipated. But please add to that, Michael, because
Okay.
again, I see it a lot every year.
Well, and I think a good reason for that is, and this kind of distinguishes what I do in terms of the approach I take with clients in my consulting, is that in my experience with that demographic, small to mid-sized business, again, what people typically will ask me right up front is, what is the one thing that I can do that's going to improve my business? And I want to take my business to the next level. And I'm looking for that one thing that exponentially is going to propel me to that level.
Right.
And I have effectually termed what they're looking for as a silver bullet for their business.
Yes.
And I can tell you that with over 40 years in business, I can assure you, as sure as I am sitting here, that
Mm-hmm.
there is no silver bullet. Okay. However, that's again where my approach differentiates in the way I work with customers and clients. And that is because there are 12 areas that are common to every business,
Yep.
whether in terms of areas that are potential improvement areas. And instead of looking for one area, you are talking about cutting, but just the flip side of that, looking for just one area that you can make a 10 to 20% difference in your business, um, that inevitably people find that there isn't that one area that they can achieve that. Now, my approach takes these 12 areas that are common to all businesses, um, that represent opportunity areas, and instead of making a 10 to 20% change in one of those areas, basically look to make a 1 to 5% improvement in as many of the 12 areas as potentially are opportunities for improvement. What
Absolutely.
that what that does, Kat, is it takes advantage of something that's called the compounding effect. Okay. And I think we've all heard this before, that if you take a penny and double it every day for 30 days, you wind up with $5 million. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's a similar type of impact. And in terms of these 12 areas that I explore with my clients, if they were to make, just for example, if they were to make just a 1.3% increase in all 12 areas,
Mm-hmm.
they would double their net profit, whatever their current net profit is.
That's
And
amazing.
1.3% is not a whole
No, it's
lot.
not. It's not.
Okay. And that has impact in a couple of ways. Number one, it has impact obviously in terms of their cash flow. And
Right.
in terms of that has impact in terms of their ability to grow their business and take advantage of other opportunities to talk to you about how to increase their advertising and marketing so
Yep.
to be able to improve their business. But the other thing that it does by improving, and again, the other differentiation I have is that most of these 12 areas talk about the net profit improvement that we can make in businesses versus just the revenue side of business.
Right.
Okay, as we all know, you don't take revenue to the, you take revenue to the bank, but you don't get to keep all of that revenue and have it be useful to you in other fashions. Um, what 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 I do and the focus that I have on the profitability of the business not only improves certainly the cash flow, not only improves the opportunities to take advantage of other things that perhaps people aren't taking advantage of right now, but the other thing by increasing the sales, not just the sales but the profit of the business, they're also improving the market value of that business so that at some point when they decide to exit the business, that has to be a focus as well. And I know that's another business that
Yeah.
you're involved in besides advertise as far as marketing. um, but the improvements that I make not only have an effect on cash flow, the person's lifestyle, what they're able to provide for their family, but also in terms of what the overall value of their business is when they look to exit the business.
Absolutely. And again, this is one where I have a lot of feedback with the clients that I talk to, or that consult with me, and they're talking about how do they exit, how do they assess the value of their business. And at the end of the day, it has to do with cash flow. And a lot of businesses aren't tuned in on their cash flow, which is okay. That's okay.
Hmm.
But they really do need to understand, like you said, as opposed to working in your business, on your business, is understanding the big picture of your business. Every business owner should know the big picture of their business, and then what are the mechanics that are moving that business and making it, and what aren't, right?
Hmm.
And when you get in a situation where you're trying to exit or sell a business, that's when you have to really dig deeper and really extrapolate the things that are not going to, like, if you have memberships, a ton of memberships just because you have for the last 30 years, well, it's time to get rid of them if you're not using them, you know
Right.
it's a lot
Yep.
of little things that people don't understand, that if you don't start digging in, you're never going to understand your business.
Well, and that's why I mentioned that one of the things, the major things, if somebody said, "What do you bring to a client?"
Hmm.
One of the most important things that you bring to a client. My answer is to look at their business innovatively.
Right.
Okay, because people get caught up in what I have affectionately termed over the years an environment of givens.
Yep.
Okay, they're doing everything that they're doing right now because number one, they've always done it that
Yep.
way. Number two, because that's what the industry does.
Yep.
Okay. And yet they're not realizing that operating within that environment of givens, as opposed to looking innovatively at how can I differentiate my business from other people in the space doing the same thing,
Yes.
um, that's really where the opportunity areas are, and that's really what these 12 different areas that I investigate with clients really, those are the 12 areas that represent ways to innovatively be able to look at your business.
Right. And so just to kind of like bring this together, like, the business owner that should be probably talking to you, or at least have a consult with you, are typically the businesses that are not, like, I typically stay in the red, right? They're usually in the red. They're not making some kind of profit, right? So
Hmm.
they're either underpricing themselves,
Hmm.
or because they're not putting the price so that it umbrellas everything else, like an employee and all this other stuff, right? Because you really have to understand pricing in order to make sure you price correctly. And
Right.
I feel like sometimes businesses don't price correctly, and then they run their business and they say, well, we have all these clients, but we're not making money. Well, okay,
Right.
how many
Right.
employees do you have? And maybe we need to trim back on employees if we're not making money.
Well, and a simple example of that, Kat, because you and I are consumers as well
Mhm.
as doing what we do in terms of business, and you see these sales all the time: buy one get one free, which is essentially 50% off, right?
Right.
Um, or you see 25, 30, 40% discounts, and this idea, this I kind of intrinsically knew, but it really smacked me in the face when somebody told me this. Do you know that if somebody sells a widget for $100 and their bottom line profit is 10% on that widget,
Yep.
and they take a 10% reduction in the price of that widget, do you know that they have to sell twice as many of those widgets to
Yes.
make the same amount of money?
Yes.
That just, I mean, like I say, I mean, it kind of intrinsically knew that, but it really, when somebody mentioned that to me, I said, wow, okay.
Yeah.
And really, price competition and being sensitive to pricing certainly is one consideration in terms of evaluating a business and where they are within their marketplace,
Yep.
but it's not the only thing.
Yep.
Okay. And actually, if you wind up getting into a situation where all you're doing is competing on the basis of price,
You're gonna
the
beat yourself up. Yeah.
but the absolute winner is gonna be the person that's got the deepest pockets.
Yes.
Okay, that's the absolute winner. Why not look at other ways that you can differentiate yourself to really represent value to your customer, not just price, but value
Absolutely.
to your customer, which is a function of both. Um, Certainly the price, but also in terms of what that customer is getting from you that they're not able to get from everybody else. And
Yeah.
that's a perspective that again I can provide to people in terms of the work that I do with them.
Oh, no, absolutely, and I think another thing I can interject with, and you can add on to it, is, with my other company, my marketing company, I always get a lot of, business owners who wanna meet and create a strategy, right? Create a marketing strategy for their business, their brand, and increasing traffic or what have you. But they're also not creating a sales strategy, right? They're not creating a strategy within their company or their team of, what are some of the things that we can do to increase revenue? So
Hmm.
marketing is completely separate, you know, but you also need to think about the sales strategy and the minutia of the company of what is your strategic strategy to increase revenue? You know, are you going to have your team make more calls? Are you going to do more networking event? Because they're hand in hand. You need one with the other one needs the other one too. And it really is about, what is your game plan to increase revenue with your sales team,
Right.
and your sales team could be you, but, what is that strategy? And then are you
Yeah.
holding yourself accountable, right?
Exactly. Well, and the other thing you had mentioned earlier that yes, a lot of the people that I work with are people that are in the red and their businesses are in trouble. But one of the things that that I was told a long time ago and really resonated with me was that you don't have to be sick to get better. Okay,
Yes, I
so it
agree.
doesn't necessarily mean that you have your business is in trouble and that therefore we need to call Michael and get some help from him. The other thing that is very important here also that I wanted to mention that I can be of assistance to folks with is most small to mid-sized business folks are basically in terms of marketing, as you mentioned, Kat, are
Yeah.
concerned with and are are totally consumed with what I call the tactical side of marketing. What does my website look like? What does
Yes,
my
yeah.
social media program look like? And what I like to tell people, and sometimes this is the biggest hurdle to get over with a business owner, is that those tactical things are important, certainly, but the basis of success in terms of marketing is really your messaging. What is the differentiation, again, as I mentioned before, between you and what everybody else is doing? That's the strategic side of marketing that you're talking about. And that's why I work very well with companies like you who do the tactical, or just who do the tactical side of marketing,
Yep.
because if you can combine an effective messaging and create a market dominating position, and
Yep.
you do the excellent job that your company does in communicating that, wow, the sky's the limit. Okay,
Yep. Yep.
in terms of what people can realize. So
Yeah. I also feel, Michael, from the business broker part of it, I feel like a lot of business owners are lucky in the fact that they didn't have, the training or education to be a business owner, right? They just
mhm.
haphazardly became a business owner, and they're very successful, some, very, very successful. And then they get to the point where now that it's either you grow even more, but how do you do it? Because you
Mhm.
don't you're tapped out, right? You're tapped out on resources. If it's not manpower, it might be, inventory or money, something like that, right? It's You're tapped out.
Right,
And or, you know,
right.
uh
Well,
you don't have the capacity, you don't know how to take it to that next step, right?
Well, and a lot of times it comes down to, again, Kat, what I mentioned before, working in your business versus working on your business. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, one of the biggest challenges that I've seen that a lot of folks have as they grow is that they get their business to a point where what that number one, they lose perspective as to, because of the environment of givens that they operate in, as to what are those other areas. But the other thing that winds up happening is that as they grow, what they find, get the example of the pizza guy, okay, the owner of the pizza shop, what they
Yep.
find is as they grow, they're having less and less time to be able to devote to making those pizzas and making
Right.
sure that the pizzas, what they're doing every day. Because as their business grows, now they have to get involved in management and
Right.
leadership of
Yeah.
that business, as opposed to them doing it, a lot of those things themselves, having to get involved with hiring people, getting the right people, training the right people, and becoming a manager and getting those same results by getting them through other people as opposed to doing it themselves. And that's
Right.
kind of another facet besides the coaching services that I provide, that we've talked about. I do a lot of leadership training with folks as well. So
Okay.
it's part of Full Circle Consulting Group, the umbrella company. So,
Yes. Okay. So I know that you have a couple of things that you're offering today. Do you want to kind of explain it? And I think you should talk about your book first, though.
okay. Okay. Well, I have a ebook that I did that's called Leads Unchanged: 52 out of the box lead strategies that will lead you to the bank. Okay. I labored a long time in terms of coming up with the title of that book, but I'm pretty happy with it right now because that's
Yep.
exactly what the book does. Okay. And what I'm offering folks is that, number one, in terms of the coaching services I provide, it's supported by a software program, that really facilitates being able to explore these 12 areas for each company. Actually, you can take a deeper dive, and I usually wind up doing that with clients after we've initially looked at the first 12, which are agnostic to product, service, or industry, by the way. um, you can actually take a look at 28 other areas that have less of an impact, but still will have an impact. The software program really facilitates being able to do that. One of the first things that I'm offering to folks today is if they get a hold of me and contact me, um, you know, either through LinkedIn or
To the website.
through my website. What I will do is I will send them as part of this software program. I will send them what's called a profit accelerator simulator, which basically gives them, it's self-explanatory. It's a URL that they can put in their current sales volume, their current gross profit percentage, their current net profit percentage, and then they can look at each of those 12 areas and play around with, well, if I make a 10% increase, or if I make a 5% increase in this area and I make a 3% increase in this area or a 2% increase in this area, collectively, because of this compounding effect, what effect is that going to have on my business? And the simulator actually shows what impact it would have. Okay. What I was, if somebody contacts me about doing, I'm offering also a 45-minute assessment that's free of charge, normally a $500 value. A free assessment for anyone. I will do a 45-minute Zoom call with them, and usually we can go through 2 or 3 of the 12 areas specifically for their business. And I have never had it happen that in going to 2 or 3 of the areas with any client that I haven't been able to find them at least $10,000 in unrealized revenue and profits for their company.
Yeah.
Okay. If someone contacts me about scheduling that, I will send them the Profit Acceleration Simulator. Once we've scheduled that 45-minute Zoom call and completed it, in exchange for their time and interest in terms of talking to me about ways to improve their business, I will send them a copy of my ebook if they do in fact schedule that Zoom call and we do it and complete it. So those are the 2 things that basically that I'm offering today to anybody who'd like to get in touch with me and find out more. There's only so much you and I can talk about in 30 minutes.
So in case, I'm just going to recap this a little, in case you didn't hear from the beginning. So basically what Michael said is when he does the assessment, he's making as little as 1% change, 1%, right? Am I getting that right, Michael?
Well, when I do the assessment, we usually in 45 minutes have time to go through 2 or 3 of the 12 areas.
Okay.
And what I'm saying is by exploring at least 2 or 3 of those areas, I've traditionally been able to find, a minimum
revenue,
of $10,000 of unrealized revenue.
That's what I was trying to get at. Thank you for clarifying.
That's
what I was trying to. So if you want to find $10,000 of revenue, it's worth the 45 minutes, even just to go through his workshop, his assessment. So I would highly advise, it's worth your time. Take the assessment, go through the workshop, the 45 minutes with Michael. Because if you want to kind of get a feel for him finding this revenue, he will find it. And again, he's got a software program. He's also offering the free ebook if you schedule it on his Calendly, or reach out to him on the website or through LinkedIn, because he is available through LinkedIn. Yep. Am I correct now, right?
You are absolutely right.
Awesome.
You are absolutely right.
Well, Michael, it's always a pleasure having you on my podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. This was fabulous. I hope that a lot of people do reach out to you. This is the time of year to start planning. This is the time of the year to start thinking about the things that you're doing for companies. Got to do it now.
Well, and I appreciate you given me the opportunity to kind of tell my story. And one of the things that somebody told me, again, a lot of things resonate with me over the years that I've heard. And one of the things told me that one of the things that people told me was that you spend the first third of your career learning, you spend the next third of your career earning, and you should spend the last third of your career giving back. And to a large degree, Kath, that's one of the things that I get the most excited about is
That's awesome.
having a client, being able to work with that client through this assessment and identifying opportunity areas, helping and coaching them to realize the results of these opportunity areas, and knowing in my mind that I've made a difference, number one, in their business in terms of what their cash flow of their business is, how that translates into what the value of their business is, but most importantly, what they're able to provide in terms of lifestyle for themselves and their families.
Absolutely.
And that, to a large degree, is kind of where I'm at in my life. In terms of the reasons that I enjoy as much doing what I'm doing. People have asked me, Michael, when are you going to retire? Okay. And my answer to them is I'm going to retire when I have pennies on my eyes. Okay. because it's enjoying the hell out of what I'm doing. And, And I really take a lot of, I really am very pleased if I'm able to make a positive, important difference in people's lives.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you said that because, you are in a position where you pick and choose your clients. So, and that's a unique situation where other businesses are really grappling at anything. And you're in a position because of, where you're at is you get to pick and choose your clients, which is very awesome. Very awesome. Well, thank you, Michael. Thank you for joining me.
You're very welcome, Kat. Thank you very much and stay warm.
Thank you. And thank you for joining me on my podcast. I appreciate your time. And if you just now cut it, hit rewind, watch to the beginning of the podcast, you're going to learn a lot about understanding your business, understanding and, the importance of hiring a coach or a mentor and someone helping you to grow your business. And I think if anything, I always say it's worth every penny when you hire a revenue coach or any type of coach that really helps you grow your business and kind of tweak the things that you're not doing correctly. So until next time, you got this, and I will see you then, and catch me next week. Bye. What is the one thing that you need in order to sell your business successfully and at a price point that you are going to love or you can live with? So in order to sell your business for a maximum value, you need to have three good years of accounting and growth. Hey, I'm Kat Ramirez, CEO and founder of 10X Business Broker. If you need help or if you need someone to give you a business valuation, reach out to me and connect with me. I am happy to help you out. You got this.